Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. I'm doing comments today, comments episode 34, if you can believe that, wherein I react to a selection of your missives that have been carefully curated by my producer, a journey of mutual discovery. I'll answer your questions and react to your remarks in the only way I know how, honestly, and with an open heart and true words. Justin Hawkins rides again. Again. John Thompson says, what is really like being in a band, X? What is really like being in a band? What is really like? Well, I'll tell you what's really like being in a band. It's really like nothing else. There's nothing else like it in the whole world. And if you have a band that creates magic and you can feel it, and it doesn't matter if it's like to a selective audience or just a handful of people, or even just one fella, who's disinterested. He might be facing away, he might be reading the paper, but it's a collaborative process where your hearts and your souls are intertwined and you are one for that moment, and it's just, there really isn't another experience that I can think of that reminds me of it. The nearest thing would be team sports, I suppose, but that's with a competitive edge that isn't necessarily how you feel when you go on stage. Not there to win, you're there to entertain. Sometimes that means losing. Powerful stuff, eh? So, Mini Simmons Band. Ah, cool. The Mini Simmons Band. These are the guys that supported us in Wellington and Auckland recently. Hi, Justin. First of all, I wanted to say thanks so much for having us as the opening act for the New Zealand leg of the recent tour. You lads are total legends and we had an absolute blast. Now on to the question for next Friday. How do you keep your voice in such good shape while on tour? Any tips and tricks for the singers out there? Have you ever had to cancel a show due to losing your voice? Awesome questions. Okay, and it's a super thanks as well. Cheers for that. Tips and tricks. I think if you're struggling, the very, very best thing you can do for your voice is sleep. Just get as much of that as you possibly can. I think there's a lot of regeneration that happens during the slumber period. But also don't eat anything 4 hours before you go on stage, because you end up with things like acid reflux from the exertions of singing that can damage your vocal cords and make the next day pretty difficult. I just think you've got to be very disciplined on show day. I have had to cancel shows from losing my voice, because if you lose your voice, there's really nothing you can do about it. But there are things you can do to try and sort of prevent that. But when you get ill, that's all there is to it. That's it. You're done. But thanks for your question anyway. And thanks for supporting us, it's great. Kevin Kyle, another super thanks. Bagpipes in rock, does it work? Justin, we need your opinion. There's a link to a YouTube thing there. I can't click on that link for some reason, it's not working. But Bagpipes in rock, it worked on... It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. So I think it really depends on the context. We used bagpipes. We used bagpipes on Welcome to Glasgow because it was Scottish themed, and of course that's the Scottish sound. Although interestingly, the bagpipe that we actually used was an Irish bagpipe. So I think all the Celtic countries have their tartan-clad sound machines with the pipes hanging off it, I guess. Hagbard Celine says, hey Justin, if you didn't become a musician, would you have become a comedian? I don't know. I think there was nearly one time, years and years ago, like it was in the 90s when I was at college, and I was invited to compare something, and I was expected to do some sort of not stand-up, or maybe stand-up, I suppose. But the idea of it just completely terrified me. I don't know if I really admire comedians. I think they have a different level of courage to even musicians, really, because I'm confident in my ability as a guitar player, and I know I can sing I know I can hold a tune, so it's actually kind of like, it's not that excruciating for me to be on stage, but if there's an obligation to be funny, I think I'd go to pieces. But maybe I should try it. Use the comment section to suggest, perhaps I'll just do a little set at the Moon Underwater in Wembley or something like that and call it a day. Ghost Mall, another super thanks, cheers. Hi Justin, since you seem to be a fellow synth nerd, I have a few synth related questions if you'll indulge me. What are some of your favourite synths besides the DX7? Have you gotten into this whole Euro rack modular thing yet? What are your favourite synth artists? And finally, have you ever considered doing a synth based side project? Cheers. Yeah, I mean, one of my favourite things to mess around with in the studio is the monophonic mini Moog. I think mine's from like 1974, and you can do so much cool stuff with it. It's worth having one just sitting around plugged in and fiddle around with the filters and the oscillators and see what it does, really. The DX7 I particularly like because there's some really good usable sounds in there, and I find it interesting how the algorithms work and how it makes those how it modulates the sounds, But one of the synths that I've used on a lot of records is a Juno. I think it's a Juno. Mine's a Juno 60 or a 160. I can't remember which one it is now. And I find that there's a lot of emulators for that sort of thing that you can get as plugins on Pro Tools or Logic or whatever, but they just don't sound as fat as the originals. A good old-fashioned analog synthesizer is a joy to behold with your ears. Is that what you do? A joy to hear and listen to. I just love it. And it's so fat and wide and, such girth in the tone. It's just, there's nothing that can get near it. The Oberheim, what's the, there's a really good plugin for Oberheims. I think it's called an OBX or something like that. Which gives you the Van Halen jump sound should you require it. I mean, it's got to be a starting point for anything that involves brass, really, because you don't want to. I think if you have like a synthesizer that's trying to do brass and make it sound convincing, you're on a sticky wicket and you're definitely going to lose. But if you just lean into the fact that it's a synthesizer, start off on the jump patch. You can do a lot worse than that. I haven't got into the Euro rack modular thing, but as you correctly wrote, yet. I love any synthesizer that's got a bit of wood on each side. I just think it feels and makes you play in a certain way, really. Just it's the atmosphere of it. So, like, I don't like using. If I use a vocoder, I usually go for a Roland VP 330, which is one of the old ones. I've got one of those, but it's a little bit unreliable. I actually bought it off the. I bought it off the keyboard player from the Super Furry Animals. And one of the first things that happened was the whole filter bank broke, and I had to go and get it repaired. And it's now in the same state. I need to get somebody to give it a complete overhaul, but it is awesome. Favorite synth artists? I've been listening to Carpenter Brute recently, which is just a French artist who does kind of like 80s metal stuff, but it's very synth heavy. I love the classics like Stan Bush and all the rest of them, really. Synthesizer music is great, and I'd love to do a synth-based side project. There's a million side projects that I'd want to do, but that's up near the top. So thanks for your question. Ashlyn Jofo says, happy 1 year anniversary, Justin. Here's my question for your weekly segment. What made you want to start a YouTube channel? Are you surprised how it's grown? And what's your favourite part about creating content? Love your channel. Thank you very much. Yeah, to be honest, I've been working closely with my producer on another online thing, which is the Patreon, and I found that to be a brilliant way to enhance and develop my relationship to our audience, really, and it's been great. A lot of that involved sort of video stuff, and I've got more and more comfortable in front of a camera. I was a bit awkward at the beginning of that whole thing, but she suggested that I do this, and I was like, yeah, okay, just do it, just try it. And tried it, and it seemed to slowly but surely gain a bit of traction. And at the moment, it's growing, not exponentially, but I think it's steadily growing. And it's really weird how every situation I go to that's musical, more or less every musician that I encounter knows of this channel and has just nice things to say about it. So it's definitely going well, and I enjoy doing this stuff. Some days I have off days. You've probably seen it. But the only way I can do this is react in the moment, really. I don't have the time to sort of wait until I'm on form. I just have to plug in and go for it, which is, pretty much how I've approached every aspect of my music career thus far. Just plug in and go for it. TM. I need to say a super thanks to the super thanks people. Dustin Beasley, Lena Bow, Lewis Silver, Tom Ketteray, Rob McVeigh, John S3, Sweet Pandora, Kami Hawkins, Renoir, You Ready Freddy, Reed Jorgensen, Minnie Simmons Band, Kevin Kyle, Ghost Mall, and Just Gene. I really, really appreciate these super thankses that you do for me. It means the world. And, maybe I'll buy a nice neck scarf or something like that to wear for you. Yeah, it's all about the sartorial elegance with this channel, isn't it? So anyway, awesome stuff. I'm excited to continue doing this. It's a joy for me. Sometimes I wake up and I don't feel up to it, but I do it anyway because of these comments here. Lovely stuff. Thanks, guys. Justin Hawkins rides again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these 2 videos, and keep commenting, guys, and I'll keep reacting. Lots of love to you. See you on the ice, and adieu.